Alright, here we have a winged elm, and I'm going to go outside the conventional way of doing things. And if you notice, this bark on winged elm is quite spongy, almost like punky wood. And we're going to grab some punky wood as well. And what you can do with stuff with this kind of consistency is make something like charred cloth. But this is your nature's made charred cloth. Okay, because you might not always have cotton. I like to find the ways that people survive doing this stuff without modern materials. So we're going to gather some of this bark up, big chunks like the one I have in my hand here, and we're going to do the same process you would do with charred cloth by putting in a container, heating it up and charring it, and seeing how well it takes a spark. So remember, winged elm has those wings growing on it. Okay, I know I can't focus up in there because I'm hitting the light, but you can kind of see the pattern like you did in my winter ID. Okay, but this here is winged elm. This is what the bark looks like when it gets older. Okay, and remember, you just push your finger in it and you can feel it's spongy. Feels like punky wood. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and grab this and we'll go from there. Okay, here's just a dead old rotted out chunk of log here, and this has some punky wood to it. So we're gonna go ahead and break some chunks off like so and add this to our materials to make nature's char cloth. Okay, we can also get punky wood from a tree that's standing. It's a little bit different than that stuff back there. This is true squishy punky wood here. Okay, this is stuff we could use for a fire piston as well. Okay, this is the kind of stuff you'd want. So we'll go ahead and grab ourselves some of this, see what we can't do with this. Okay, I'm just kind of hanging out here and just got done collecting all our dried up punky wood, and I have a few extras. You know, I have some punky tulip poplar bark, and this is just to give us some ideas of what to use. A little while ago I found some punky sweet gum. Okay, it just felt really good for this kind of thing. So there's some sweet gum we're gonna try, and then the other ones I have no idea what they were. You saw me collect them. But also, for the people in Florida, we're gonna go ahead and use some Melaleuca. That's what this is here. You can check out one of my, I don't remember which one it is, one of my plant tree videos for South Florida, and you'll see Melaleuca. Very, it's a punky feeling bark and papery. It's not like birch bark. It's a little different. It kind of feels spongy, but I feel this might make very good char cloth. We will find out. And then I have some birch bark in here. So we will find out if birch bark works good for all the northerners towards Michigan and the UP and such. So we have a good variety here, and we have different types of punky wood. And you saw me grab that elm bark, that winged elm. So we're going to go ahead and give that a whirl too. And I just use a simple tin for making. You see I got a little bit of char cloth in there right now. We're going to take that out. Okay, we don't want none of that involved in this experiment, because the reason that this is going on here is a lot of times we focus on modern ways to make things, and the problem with char cloth is, you know, my goal is to teach not just people who love the art of survival and love being outdoors, but also people who are a little unfamiliar with it and just want to know what they can do. Well, not all of them people are going to have pieces of cotton on them at that time. You know, a lot of us do wear cotton shirts and such, but sometimes all you need is what's from nature. So we have some punky wood that's in every woodland area I've ever been in. It's not that hard to find, and you just need a simple container. You know, you can use your canteen or carve out one of them rocks like I showed you and make char cloth with that by just laying a flat rock on top of it. or just something metal like a tin. Okay, so I've made lots of char cloth in this, and I'm gonna go ahead and try it with some punky wood. And we're gonna start out, I'm gonna do more than one at a time so I don't do this 500 times, but I'm gonna start out with some tulip poplar here, and I'm gonna split it down into smaller pieces so it'll char well, and I'm gonna line it up in a certain way so it will hopefully work right. And we're gonna do some birch bark in the center, and these are all just peelings from the outside of the bark. It's not like I took a whole bunch in. You can see there's a little bit of the pink there. You know, it's not super thin, but it's thick enough where we can maybe make something worthwhile out of it. Okay, so we'll put that in the center, and then we'll come over to our sweet gum, find a good piece from that, okay, piece of sweet gum here, and that'll go on the right. So we have 3 items in here now: tulip poplar, birch bark, and sweet gum. So we're gonna go ahead and close this off, and you don't have to poke a hole in these tins, okay, because in the back, those hinges, that's enough for the gases to get out. Alright, you don't want too much of a hole in there, and you don't have to close the lid down super tight either. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and plop this on the fire, let it sit there for a little while and burn, and hopefully give us some charred material. Okay, once we keep getting more items done, I'm just going to keep throwing them in. Okay, here's our sweet gum, tulip poplar, here's our birch bark here, this piece. Next we'll grab, if you remember that punky wood from the dead standing tree, throw a piece of that in there. And then this is a piece from the one that was on the ground that had all the little holes in it. Throw a piece of that in there. We'll do these 2 next. I think I'm going to redo the birch bark because it takes a little less time to make than the wood here. So I'm going to do these pieces first, and then I'm going to redo the birch bark and the melaleuca at the same time, and then we'll do our winged elm bark. Okay, so what we have here is a smorgasbord of charred natural tinders. Okay, so it's the same idea as char cloth, and what we have here is some birch bark. Okay, birch bark on the far end. This is our sweet gum for Florida. This is our melaleuca, which turned out really good, I feel. This is our dried standing punky wood here. Here's our winged elm bark, and then we have our tulip poplar here. I made a bigger piece. The other one was pretty small. And then this was the stuff that was on the ground that had all the holes in it that was punky. Okay. Okay. I was going to start with the birch bark there, but I opened it up and saw that it was still a little fresh on the inside, so I want to char that a little longer. I put the melaleuca in there too. And what I'm going to do here is start with this piece. This is our piece of punky wood that was from the ground here, and it has all the holes in it. Okay, this stuff feels really good. I'm just going to hit it with a small amount of spark here. Let's see if we can't get it to catch. Okay. And it did catch on that little tiny spark. I'm just going to kind of zoom out here, show you this. See that? This stuff will take spark from flint steel because that was a tiny, tiny little spark. This stuff feels great too when it comes to this. So that there, definitely I can blow that in a tinder bundle. Alright. You can just see that heat, see how it's just burning away, turning white there. Get a nice big chunk of this, you can easily make some char cloth. It's actually starting to burn my fingers here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now, we'll grab our piece of tulip poplar. Look at that. That was pretty neat actually. It's burning. See how small that spark was that I hit that with? Look at this. Okay, you don't need char cloth, cotton, to make a charred material for your next fire. Okay? And this proves it. There's plenty of punky wood out there. Alright? And I'm just testing everything here. I knew punky wood was going to work, but I'm just trying different ones. And tulip poplar, it's a softer wood as it is, and I mean that hit one little tiny spark and it just took off and it started burning. Now it's hot. So tulip poplar, great material. Okay, let's try our winged elm. Now the reason I have not tried winged elm yet, and the reason I'm trying it is because the bark is naturally spongy. Okay, and that's what you're looking for when it comes to this. And these materials can all be used in, you know, for this char cloth obviously, and for like a fire piston and things like that to help you get that coal, because fire pistons do the same thing. You need something like this to get that thing burning. So let's try our wing down. Okay, it's not looking like this one's going to take. Okay. I'm going to grab this was our standing punky wood, kind of like the stuff that I used to show you how to create smoke over a fire. Pretty much same as that. So we're going to hit this with a tiny spark. Okay, it's going here. Took a couple tries. It's all about getting that right spot. I think you can see that, huh? So far, punky wood, all the three kinds are doing pretty good. So that one does well just as the other ones did. It definitely will get your tinder bundle rolling. Okay, here we have our sweet gum. Small little spark again. Oh, I dropped it. Still going though. Okay, here we are. It's going just fine. Sweet gum. Okay, so I'm just left with our birch bark and melaleuca. Got a couple little pieces going there, but I had a feeling these weren't going to work as good. That outer bark there seems to work good. This inner bark is not taking it as good. So I think what needs to be done is just that outer white paper bark. So I'm gonna have to experiment with that again. I don't know, it doesn't seem to want to catch one of these little sparks, and that's what we're going for, is the little sparks here. But we're not getting nothing, so I would have to say birch bark's out for now. Now let's try our Melaleuca. Okay, whoop. Almost burnt it there. This stuff I feel would work. The consistency seems right. And it's catching these little sparks, but they're just kind of going out on me. Try a little more towards the edge here. Flip it, try this end. I'm going to go ahead and break this down a little bit, try it. I really thought this stuff would work. It's not looking like it's going to want to take. Now, this could be a factor of just not charring it long enough. Okay. I don't know if you can see them little dots. It's catching a little bit, and that's all it's doing. It's just that outer. So I'm thinking maybe a thinner piece or charring it a little longer might have the right effect, because it's catching in little spots. Okay. I've got more at home, so I think what I'm going to do is just try more, and I'll char that and do the outer white part of the birch bark, and I'll let you guys know how that works, because this right now isn't working. But Melaleuca, if you give it a good strike, this stuff will burn. See, that right there is actually charring a little bit. See, we give that a good strike like that, that Melaleuca will burn. You know, I have no doubt in that. This stuff's pretty real. But so far it doesn't, I don't think it'll take a spark from a flint and steel, because it's not taking these little sparks. Okay, and if it would, then we'd know it'd work with flint and steel, but it's not. So we're gonna say this and birch bark don't work right now until I try the next part of the experiment. 3 of them didn't work: birch bark, Melaleuca, and winged elm. The outer bark of winged elm doesn't seem to want to work, but anything punky, it's looking like it's going to work. So there you have it. There's some different looks at things you can char, and the punky wood, all 3 of them: sweet gum, tulip poplar, all 4 of them actually: sweet gum, tulip poplar, the standing one that I had grabbed the dead bark from, and the one that was on the ground that was real holes, like full of holes. They all worked great. Took one little tiny spark to ignite them all, and that's what we're looking for. Birch bark, winged elm outer bark, and Melaleuca bark may just need to be charred a little longer. I'm not sure. I'm going to give them another whirl, probably at home, just experiment around. I'll let you guys know. But anywhere there's woods, you know, punky in Florida, punky palm wood, I'm sure would work just fine. Anything punky, you know, there's a lot of pines there. See if you can find some punky wood out of that. Some oaks there. There's a lot of things down there that would work just fine too. You just have to go out and experiment. So focus on the punky wood if you're going to make some charred material. The barks seem to not work so good. In theory, it sounds like it might, especially Melaleuca. I thought that was going to work for sure, because it has such a spongy, perfect characteristic for it. But I'm going to go ahead and char some a little longer next time, see if I can't just get it to the point where it's just crispy, almost falling apart in my hand, and see if that doesn't work. So we'll try that, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. But so far, 4 punky woods all work just fine for a natural charred material.